12.4, we're going to be talking about multiplying integers today. So the last two lessons we were working with integers, we were working with absolute value, we were working with adding integers, subtracting integers, and now we're going to multiply integers. Now, in order to multiply integers, the most important thing to worry about is counting the signs. So count how many negative signs or positive signs that you have. Now this is going to tell you what kind of answer you're going to have. So if the number of negative signs is odd, so if you count them up and it's an odd number like 1, 3, 5, 7, something like that, your answer is going to be negative. So for example, negative 1 times 4. Now how do you do that? When you get two integers or more than one integers, all you have to do is multiply them across and then count the signs, and that will tell you what kind of sign you have. So in this example, I did 1 times 4 and I got 4, and then I realized that I only have one negative sign, and that's an odd number, so my answer is going to be negative. In this example, 3 times negative 5 equals negative 15. I figured out that 3 times 5 gives me 15, and then I counted up the signs, and I see that I have one negative number, so my answer is going to be negative. The last example that I did to show you this is that negative 1 times negative 2 times negative 3. So the first step is just to multiply the numbers together. So 1 times 2 gives you 2, and then 2 times 3 gives you 6. So I know that my answer is going to be 6 something. Is it going to be positive or negative? So let's go ahead and add up our negative signs. We have 1, 2, 3. Now since 3 is an odd number, our answer is going to be negative. Alright, now if the number of negative signs is even, so if it's a number like 2, 4, 6, 8, your answer is going to be positive. So, for example, if I did negative 1 times negative 4, my answer is going to be 4. Because I multiplied 1 times 4 and I got 4, and then I counted up my negative signs, I have 1, 2. So since I have 2 and 2 is an even number, our answer is going to be positive. Here's another example. If I do negative 3 times negative 5, my answer is going to be 15. Now how did I get this? I went ahead and multiplied across, so 3 times 5 gives me 15, and then I counted up my negative sign. So I have 1, 2. And since 2 is an even number, my answer is positive. Okay, the last example I did 1 times negative 2 times negative 3. Now in order to get my answer, I multiplied across. I did 1 times 2 gives me 2, then 2 times 3 gives me 6. So I put my answer 6 there, and then I had to count up the negative signs. So I had 1 and 2. And since 2 is a negative, or 2 is a positive or an even number, our answer is going to be positive. Alright, let's go ahead and apply this to a few examples real quick. Alright, let's go ahead and look at our first example. Our first example is 8 times negative 7. So let's go ahead and solve this. The first step is to multiply across. So 8 times 7 gives me 56. So now I need to go ahead and find the sign. So I have one negative sign. And since 1 is an odd number, our answer is going to be negative. Alright, let's do example number 2. We have negative 5 times negative 11. So the first step is to multiply across. So I'm going to do 5 times 11, and I'm going to get 55. Now is my answer positive or negative? Let's see. I have one negative sign, 2 negative signs. Since 2 is an even number, my answer is going to stay positive. Okay, number 3. We have negative 3 times negative 4 times negative 5. So let's go ahead, first step, multiply across. So 3 times 4 gives me 12, and then 12 times 5 gives me 60. Okay, so my answer is 60. Now is it positive or negative? Let's see. We have 1, 2, 3 negative signs. Since that number is odd, our answer is going to be negative. Alright, let's do another example. We have negative 6 times negative 12. First step, multiply across. So 6 times 12 gives me 72. Okay, so if my answer is 72, now we need to figure out, is it positive or negative? So I have one negative sign and 2 negative signs. So since I have 2 negative signs and 2 is an even number, our answer is going to stay positive. Okay, number 5. We have 4 times negative 5 times negative 8. So the first step is to multiply across. So let's go ahead and do 4 times 5 gives me 20, and then 8 times 20 is going to give me 160. Now, is my answer going to be positive or negative? Let's see. Okay, so I have 1, 2 negative signs. Since I have 2, and 2 is an even number, our answer is going to be positive. Alright, now let's go move into some examples with variables. So, before when we were adding and subtracting integers with variables, we couldn't combine them because if there's more than one variable or something like that, because you can't add a term with a variable with it with another term. But this time, when you're multiplying, you can combine. So let's go ahead and simplify this real quick. So if we have negative 3 times 6 times y, we're going to have to multiply this 3 times everything that's in the parentheses. So we're going to first do 3 times 6, which is going to give us 18. And then we're going to do, make sure that we have our sign right. So we did 3 times 6 times y, which gives us 18y. Now we're going to go ahead and count our signs. We have one negative sign, and that's an odd number, so our answer is going to be negative. Now let's go ahead and try this one. Now this one's a little bit different. We have 2 variables this time, but we can combine them with multiplication. So let's see what we can do. We're going to have to multiply these coefficients, which is basically coefficients, just a number outside that's multiplied with a variable. So negative 7 is a coefficient for A, and then 3 is a coefficient for B. So coefficient, just a number hooked onto a variable. So we're going to multiply negative 7 and negative 3, and then add these, just put these 2 on the end. So we're going to go ahead and have negative 7 times 3. 3 times 7 gives you 21. We have one negative sign, so our answer is going to be negative. Now let's go ahead and plug our variables on the end. So times A and times B. So it's negative 21AB. That's our answer. Alright, let's go ahead and try a word problem real quick. It says a scuba diver descended 5 feet per minute. What was a scuba diver's depth at 5 minutes? So we need to pick out our important information. So the first word that I'm thinking of is descended. So we're going down. It's going to be a negative number. So we're descending 5 feet per minute. So each minute is going down another 5 feet, another 5 feet, another 5 feet. So our first number is negative 5. Now what are we going to do with this negative 5? So we need to figure out how low we are going to be, what the depth is going to be after 5 minutes. So if we want to figure out how we're going to do this 5 minutes, so we're going to do negative 5 plus negative 5 plus negative 5 plus negative 5 plus negative 5. We're going to do this 5 times, so we're going to multiply negative 5 times 5. So now let's go ahead and solve it. So negative 5 times 5 is going to give us 25. And what side are we going to have? Is it going to be positive or negative? Let's see. We have one negative sign, so our answer is going to be negative. So our answer is negative 25. Alright, let's go ahead and look at a few problems that I want you to do on your own. Make sure that you have your notes done for tomorrow, and make sure that if you have any questions, you come with them in class, or you can look back in your book at more examples. So let's do a few examples so that you can practice for tomorrow. Alright, you have 5 problems to complete for tomorrow. Go ahead and try them and see what you get. Good luck.